What is up, YouTube world? All right. See where we're at. Let's see if that fixes. Maybe no. Maybe yes. Let's see if this shit's echoing. I don't think it is. I think it's just me hearing myself. I'm gonna do a quick sound check. All right. Cat's yelling at me. But yeah, I'm home. We're back home. We're back to set up. Right. Oops, forgot to turn that down. I'm doing good, and yourself? So what are we getting this morning? The news? Welcome everybody. If you can, double tap that screen. Subscribe if you're new. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. Oh, the school bus home, nice. Nice. All right, let's pull up something to watch.
So we're not going to see anything that's too dramatic out there. Again, some school delays. I don't think we'll get a lot of cancellations. It's also cold. Behind this blizzard, that cold air swept all the way into
Tim the
South
goat.
Florida. Temperature this morning in Miami have been in the 40s. We're at 48 right now. Tampa's at 41. Gainesville's at 32. So even by roads. And then as we head towards later in the week, New York does have a decent weekend. It's not like everything's going to melt like in a flash. There's no huge warm up, but things are going to generally get warmer. And here's next week's outlook, by the way. So this is for the first week of March. Much of the country, including the West, continues to be very warm above average. So does the South. There is a chance for a blast of some colder air from the north the first week of March. And that may set the stage for a Pacific storm that's moving across the country with wet weather, which is good, beneficial, again, with the drought across much of the country. But with that cold weather sitting up here as that storm arrives, I hate to say it, we have to keep a close eye on like that Tuesday time frame next week. It's a week away. I'll wish it away and do whatever I can. But there is a chance for another snowstorm in the Northeast.
And again, it will be March at that point. March.
And then people will be really angry.
Oh, yeah. It's not Bill's fault. Remember, not Bill's fault. All right. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. Tonight, President Trump will deliver the first State of the Union address of his second term. A senior administration official tells NBC News that theme of tonight's speech will be America at 250, strong, prosperous, and respected. NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake joins us now with a preview. Garrett, good morning.
Hey, Joe. Good morning. President Trump is expected to focus heavily on the economy tonight. It's the issue most important to voters as we begin this midterm election year. The president's speech to Congress last year was the longest such speech in history, clocking in at about an hour and 40 minutes. And tonight's speech could approach that length, too, with the president saying yesterday he's got a lot on his mind.
President Trump preparing to address the nation tonight.
It's going to be a long speech because we have so much to talk about.
On Monday, speaking to a gathering of families of Americans killed by undocumented immigrants, the president previewing possible applause lines.
We have a country that's now doing well. We have the greatest economy we've ever had. We restored our border, and that's now totally secure, and our country is at the safest level it's been in many, many years.
But recent polls show Americans don't share the president's positivity, with his approval rating hovering just below 40%. The public souring on his handling of the economy and even immigration, long his signature issue, though the president has shrugged off negative polls. The president is expected to unveil new domestic policies aimed at tackling affordability. Among them, a new commitment from tech companies to pay increased electricity costs in communities where new AI data centers are being built. President Trump also expected to devote a portion of his speech to foreign policy against the backdrop of a U.S. military buildup in the Middle East, as the president weighs a strike on Iran. Dozens of Democrats plan to skip the speech tonight in protest.
It's important to show the American public that someone that has led the single most corrupt government in U.S. history, that there has to be action against that.
Others will use their guests to send a message, including several lawmakers inviting survivors of abuse by Jeffrey Epstein, and newly elected Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger delivering the Democrats' response.
Another dynamic to watch, the president has spent the last several days slamming some of the Supreme Court justices for overturning much of his tariff program, saying he was ashamed of them. Perhaps they shouldn't even be invited to this speech. Well, tonight, any justices that choose to attend will be seated just feet away from the president, which could create some awkward moments if he decides he still has more to say about their work. Joe?
No doubt. All right, Garrett, thank you. Let's continue this conversation with Amy Walter. She's the publisher and editor-in-chief of the Cook Political Report. Amy, good to have you with us. So when it comes to President Trump's messaging on the economy, you've written that he's trying to, quote, actualize a great economy on vibes alone. I think it's pretty much guaranteed he's going to declare the economy is great, that things are affordable, even if the polling shows that kind of framing isn't really working, isn't how people feel right now. What do you think his most effective message on the economy could be tonight?
I think the most effective thing is going exactly at what you pointed out, which is he's got to be able to tell Americans that he understands that many of them don't feel that the economy is working for them. And that is where he's going to be spending the rest of his year focused on, right? That this is going to be a time where he is going to be single tracking the reduction in costs of things that are important to them. But that's really hard to do when you're also boasting about a great stock market and great GDP growth and other elements of the economy that have done well. And look, at the end of the day, this is the challenge. Whether it's President Trump or, quite frankly, this is the challenge that President Biden had as well. We have a bifurcated economy, a K-shaped economy in which there are people who do see things going very, very well, especially if you're invested in the stock market, especially if you are part of the tech AI boom. But for many average Americans, they feel like, especially since the pandemic, they've been struggling really hard to catch up. And the evidence is it's going to take a lot longer for them to actually get there.
I You know, you've been looking at data that shows that Americans' concerns go beyond cost of living, that it comes to the actual sort of economic system.
Yeah, I'm gonna
we
put
had.
up this
Talk more
poll real
about the
quick. I need to
K-shaped
charge my
economy.
headset. But yeah, let me
What's
know what you guys
happening
think in
there?
this poll.
Do you think it's
Is it
something
harder
that
now
the
for Americans to
president
live
could address
since the
tonight?
pandemic, or was life
Right.
easier
That's
before?
the
Never
bigger,
really thought
more
about it too much,
fundamental
but
challenge, I think,
I don't
because
really see a whole lot of difference,
at some
a whole lot
level,
of
the
difference
president has
each way.
actually
I know the pandemic
been
changed
very
things,
good
but
at that
I don't know if it's
messaging,
harder
especially when he
now.
was a candidate. When he came down that golden escalator, when he was campaigning in 2016, in 2024, his message has been pretty simple. It's that I'm the one who's going to
Kitty.
fight against those who have kept
Taking
you
up the whole table.
in this place, right?
Blocking
The
my whole
elites and the
desk.
establishment and the infrastructure that has been built over the
Trying to
years
plug something
and that
in.
hasn't benefited you. And I think a lot of voters were excited about a president who was going to take a wrecking ball to that. But it's a lot harder. It's easy to campaign on that. It's a lot harder to govern on that. And I think you combine that challenge with the fact that the president has not been as focused, at least voters don't think he has, on the economy as they had hoped he would be. They think in poll after poll that he's focused a lot more on other issues than he is on this. And look, that's the challenge of being a president, right? You've got to be able to walk and chew gum. But for somebody who they thought was going to break down these barriers, they don't feel like they've gotten very far in seeing, or they haven't seen it, and he hasn't gotten very far in putting that together.
Let's talk about the Democratic response here. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger flipped the governor's mansion blue this last November, became the state's first female governor, won by a double-digit margin, and was pretty much laser focused on these issues of the economy and affordability. Is that what you expect to hear in her rebuttal?
100%. And I think she is, for many Democrats, the model that they are going to follow for this midterm election. Focus intently on affordability, spend less
Don't
time
be
talking
shy
about
though. Let me know what
Donald
you guys
Trump
think in the poll.
person and more time talking about Donald Trump's policies and the policies that
I think
haven't
people
worked
outside of
for
the country
people.
would definitely
Now,
have the impression that things would be harder, because if you don't live here and you haven't lived here for some time, you'll see news and you might just assume what it would be like to be here. And it could go the same way. If I never go overseas somewhere and live in that culture, experience what life and the people are like there, then all I can do is really speculate. And that's what I kind of notice when I go overseas, is that people kind of have there's a lot of misconceptions about the United States as a whole. And we're definitely very talked about in other countries.
listen, being a governor, being a member of Congress, two very different things. It's nice to be an executive because you have a little more power than you do as a member of Congress. But I do think that same sort of messaging is what we're likely to hear from Democrats as they go up in the fall to try to flip Congress.
And that midterm messaging already underway right now. Amy Walter, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Our special coverage of the State of the Union starts at 4 p.m. Eastern, ahead of the president's address tonight, which begins at 9 right here on NBC News Now. Iran and the U.S. will hold another round of nuclear talks on Thursday as the threat of an American attack on Iran intensifies. The U.S. military buildup in the Middle East is now its largest since the U.S. invasion of Iraq back in 2003. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel has the latest from Jerusalem.
Good morning. The Middle East is bracing for a possible U.S. attack against Iran that regional and U.S. officials have suggested could come at any moment.
President Trump has deployed 2 aircraft carrier battle groups within striking distance of Iran. Trump has said military strikes may be needed to persuade Iran to accept a deal to limit its nuclear program.
They better negotiate a fair deal.
An Iranian government spokesman warning Monday that Iran would react ferociously to even a limited attack. Last summer, after Israel and the U.S. attacked Iran, dozens of Iranian missiles slipped through Israel's sophisticated air defenses. Prime Minister Netanyahu said if Iran attacks again, Israel would respond with a force Iran cannot imagine. Gaza is proof of what that might mean. I went into Gaza yesterday with the Israeli military, which remains the only way foreign journalists are allowed in. The Israeli military wanted to show reporters that it is still finding Hamas tunnels, including this one.
Here is the entrance itself. Gonna have to crawl at this stage.
Israel claims this newly found tunnel is proof that if Israeli troops fully pull out of Gaza, Hamas could regroup and carry out more attacks.
Even after all the exploration and digging, they still don't know how many miles of tunnels are dug underneath Gaza.
In Gaza, despite President Trump's ceasefire, we saw no reconstruction underway. And the Palestinians who once lived here were forced to leave by Israel. A Gaza camera crew found some of the former residents living far away, in tents and in squalor.
I've also recently been to Iran, where both citizens and government officials told me they want a deal with the United States, but expect Iran will be attacked nonetheless. There is still, however, hope for diplomacy, with talks expected between the Trump administration and Iranian officials to take place on Thursday in Geneva.
All right, Richard, We have breaking news in the search for Nancy Guthrie, which is now in week 4. The mother of our NBC News colleague Savannah Guthrie was abducted from her home in Tucson, Arizona 24 days ago. Earlier today, Savannah released a new video on Instagram saying the family still believes in a miracle that could bring their mother home, but she also said they know she might already be gone. If that is to be, Savannah said, they'll accept it, but they need to know where Nancy is. She reiterated that somebody out there knows something. That's why the family is now offering up to $1 million for information leading to her recovery. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch.
That is insane that this has been going on that long. All right. We need to be active and do something today. So we had our little wake-up talk. I appreciate everybody coming by. We're going to schedule some streams. I'm going to do that right now, actually. Schedule some stuff out and just kind of plan some stuff for the day. But thanks, everybody, for stopping by. And